that the fat phobia you experience as a small fat. What are some ways you amplify more marginalized, fatter, darker, caste-oppressed voices? Still can't get over the fact that they call themselves infinity fats and death fats? What is a death fat?
The title of my session is named after one of my books called You Have the Right to Remain Fat, which came out in 2018.
All the overweight people have the food in their tummy. So they would live longer than the people who aren't overweight.
But quickly, life changed for me. I became sick and my health took a sharp turn. At that moment, I didn't know how much time I had left. The weight of that was crushing.
Come on. She's throwing me softballs here. You guys know how I like softball? I'm a lesbian. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the internet where your cesspool is my jacuzzi. My name is Neidigh, and this is the Court of Random Opinion. I've been in the worst shape of my life at almost 300 pounds, and I felt like crap because I've been lazy, eating all kinds of junk food, and not exercising at all. It was only recently that I really decided, yeah, something needs to change. I've known that for a long time, but it's hard to do when you don't really feel motivated at all. But for some people, it's made even more difficult and complicated and confusing by a movement called fat acceptance, in which people completely refuse to acknowledge reality and try to force other people into thinking that being overweight is almost something to aspire to. Now, I don't care if someone's overweight. I'm overweight. That would be super hypocritical. I don't think all overweight people are unattractive. What puts me off is when people use the small percent of people, the exception to the rule, to try to pretend that being very obese isn't unhealthy and pretend it isn't because of excess calories. I'm sorry, but not all of these people have thyroid problems. I'm willing to bet a lot of them ate everything over a prolonged period of time to get as large as they are. And you know what? I did it too. Because not only was I unhealthy physically, I've been unhealthy mentally, and I didn't care enough to change what I was doing and to make things better for myself. The thing is, I would never pretend I could be healthy at this size. I'll never pretend I should aspire to be bigger. I'm comfortable with how I look. That's not the real issue. Let's stop pretending that being fat isn't extremely unhealthy, tiring, and uncomfortable. I'm going to react to some fat acceptance content I've come across recently. Some of it is a little bit older, but it only recently came to my attention. Trigger warning. Mention of weight and dress sizes. Weight and dress sizes. That's a trigger warning. That's all it takes to send you into a tailspin. When I use the word fat, I am centering the fattest bodies in my definition. That means the folks who get exploited by reality television, i.e. my 600-pound life, to make fat-phobic shows in order to promote a healthist and anti-fat agenda. Fat phobia is a project of white supremacy. We cannot undo white supremacy without undoing fat phobia. I'm sorry, are you trying to make everything about your weight? Did you go to the corner of TikTok where they think everything is racist and then think, how could I make this about me? This is a very weird message. It's like, you better start being okay with really big fat people, otherwise racist stuff's gonna happen. Like, what the fuck? So if you're white and using fatness as a I'm sorry. So if you're white and using... So if you're white and using fatness as a lens to understand your mistreatment, remember that the fat phobia you experience as a small fat, size 18 and lower, mid-fat, size 20 to 24, or even super fat, size 26 to 32, is relative to infinifats, size 34 plus. Those at the highest end of the spectrum. This is a fat spectrum designed by Ash over at Fat Lip Podcast. Okay, sorry. Be conscious of the ways you may be taking up space in, well, fat positive spaces. You're all taking up space in fat positive spaces. We all take up way more space. We're fat. If you are not the most marginalized, there's the agenda. Sometimes that's covert white supremacy still needing to be unlearned. You color this white, black, whatever the fucking color you want. That is insane. Most of all, remember that your fat does not cancel out your whiteness. Small white fats. Small white fats should always be aware of their colonization of fat posy spaces IRL and on the internet. If you're not centering the most marginalized, then who is this movement for? What movement, girl? I mean, isn't that why you're an infinity fat? If you are a smaller white fat, imagine like saying other people are fat phobic and you describe people this way, a smaller white fat. What are some ways you amplify more marginalized, fatter, darker, caste-oppressed voices? How do you remind yourself to be aware when you're colonizing a space? Offer some tips and tricks to noobs below. I wish this was satire. That was special. Thank you for that. Okay, somebody down here says, I still can't get over the fact that they call themselves infinity fats and death fats. What is a death fat? Categories? Categories. Understanding the fat spectrum. I feel like fat activists kind of cancels each other out, no? How are there? Never mind. You know what? No. The fat spectrum, a glossary. Okay. Small fats, mid fats, large fats, super fats, and infinite fats. Clothing size, weight, and lack of accommodation. Well, honestly, man, like if you let yourself go that far, not everybody's going to accommodate you. That's just part of life. Over time, as fat activism has become increasingly intersectional, that's enough. I can't hear anymore. These definitions are for you, so that you do not need to inquire with a group of several thousand fatties who will rip you apart. Because they hear that question every Thursday. I've never been asked that in my fucking life. What planet are these people from? Straight size. A straight size person is quite simply someone who is not fat. Mid-size. This is a term some straight size people... Good Lord. No, we're not doing that, okay? This is a term some people have coined to describe their experience of not being skinny, but not being fat either. Large fat. The end point for most plus-size clothing, mostly relegated to online options. This term can also apply to anyone at the larger end of the fatness spectrum, though typically they place closer to the middle of the bell curve. Super fat / infinity fat. Larger than a US women's 32, but also it's complicated. Super fat was created at a no-lose conference. What is a no-lose conference? I'm afraid. Super fat is meant to describe the largest and most underserved folks in fat communities. I feel like you've been served a lot. That's why they face significant barriers to access in healthcare, clothing, public spaces, workplace discrimination, and beyond. And I wish I had a specific clip to show you guys, but some of these people think that discrimination in healthcare or barriers in healthcare is just a doctor basically telling them that their health problem is largely due to them being extremely fucking fat, which is true. Death fat, term created by fat activist and writer Leslie Kenzel in 2008. The term was not intended to have any specific size range or limitations and can be used to anyone who wishes to reclaim their morbid fatness. You want to reclaim your morbid fatness. You call yourself a death fat. Oh, okay. And now they're calling the small fats entry-level fats. I cannot read any more of this page. All right. So here's like one of the more prominent fat activists I've found. Fat activists.
So again, I'm Virgie Tovar. I'm the author of several books on the topic of body image, weight-based discrimination, and really fundamentally changing how people relate to their body. The title of my session is named after one of my books called You Have the Right to Remain Fat, which came out in 2018. I've since written a few books. One of
What the hell? You have the right to remain fat. Okay, fine, sure. You have the right to remain fat, I guess. But I'm tired of feeling like shit. So personally, I'd like to waive that right. You can go ahead and exercise that right to remain fat. But wait, that would be a little contradictory. But diabetes, heart disease, and whatever illnesses you may end up suffering from because you are overweight and unhealthy, they don't care about your rights. So this is a Reddit post. It says, OP is a so-called infinity fat. So one of the infinity fats we just read about, size 7X. She took her doctors to task in the left photo, so we'll read that. And the right photo is from the Mayo Clinic. So this girl, the infinity fat, I can't believe I am actually using that word. You wrote, fatty liver is a condition where you build up excess fat in the liver due to carrying extra fat in your body. The best way to improve that is through eating a healthy diet and trying to lose some of the extra weight. Okay, so that's what the doctor told this person. And this person's response to that is, I've done some reading on fatty liver, and all the sources available to lay people say that body size does not cause fatty liver and dieting does not improve fatty liver. Really? All credible sources say that dieting does not improve fatty liver. Okay. I have attached one source for you, but I found that other sources like the Mayo Clinic also clearly state that fatness is not the cause of fatty liver, though it is correlated. Okay, I have some words about that, but I'm going to get through the paragraph. Even if weight loss and dieting reliably worked, I'm in active recovery from restrictive disordered eating, and it's not a safe recommendation for me, which should be noted in my chart. Reading your false cause and recommendation for weight loss has already triggered an uptick in disordered eating behaviors this morning for me. What do you recommend to folks in smaller bodies with fatty liver? Why are you asking that? You are a 7X. You call yourselves infinifats. Like, this is an addict mentality to me. That's what I'm seeing. We'll do anything to avoid the simple fact that, yes, being extremely overweight and not having a healthy diet is probably causing your health problems. Again, yes, there are some people who are overweight because of medical conditions that they can't help. But that's the exception to the rule, and I'm tired of everyone using it as an excuse when that's not actually their condition. And on the right here, it says causes. Experts don't know exactly why some people accumulate fat in the liver, while some people do not. Similarly, there's limited understanding of why some fatty livers develop inflammation that progresses to cirrhosis. Fatty livers both linked to the following: overweight or obesity, insulin resistance, high blood sugar, indicating prediabetes or type 2 diabetes, and high levels of fats, particularly triglycerides, in the blood. These combined health problems appear to promote the deposit of fat in the liver. To reduce your risk of fatty liver disease, choose a healthy diet, maintain a healthy weight, and exercise. So this person, like, raving and ranting over here can't believe that somebody suggested that, she might be healthier at, than her current weight of size 7X if she were to maybe move around a little and diet better. And she's like, you're causing my disordered eating with those recommendations. So for too many people, this fat acceptance or fat positivity, fat liberation, whatever, this is the result. That is not discrimination. That is sound medical advice from a doctor. This is some circus level gymnastics shit that this person did just to avoid the fact that they need to eat a little better. And yeah, them being extremely, extremely overweight is causing some problems for them. All right, this chick says being overweight is the smartest thing you can do. Let's hear that logic.
You know why being overweight is one of the smartest things you can do? Just imagine a zombie apocalypse and there's no more food left. All the overweight people have the food in their tummy. So they would live longer than the people who aren't overweight.
Let's consider this strange fantasy world this person is living in, okay? How are you going to run from the zombies? How do you think that's going to go? Because let me tell you, if we're running from zombies and they're going to eat us and maybe one of us could, like, fit on a boat or something, I'm shoving you over. Good luck with that. Now, this is some of the most bizarre brain rot ever.
You want to know what changed my life? I was on my deathbed, struggling to breathe, unsure if I'd even make it another day. And that's when I realized.
So it sounds like she's realized, like, wow, I really let myself get to a rock bottom. I need to do something about my health or I'm, not going to be able to live. I might die early.
If I don't speak up now, fat people like me might never have the chance to live fully.
See, I commend that. I commend that logic.
I wasn't sure how much time I had left, but I knew it was now or never. And that's when I started fighting for us, for fat liberation, for the right to exist.
Okay, this tracks way more than the intro to this video. This tracks. So instead of thinking I'm on my deathbed because I'm so unhealthy, I might want to do something about that, she's like, no, I gotta fight for us to exist and, like, stay fat. Nobody, like, wants you to not exist. It's just that nobody wants you to die young either. I mean, come on, dude. You have lost your damn minds.
To thrive and to take up space. Hey.
Take up space. Take up space. That, not an issue. Let's get real.
I'm Jalen, but you might know me as J-Bay. But honestly, I'm just Jay. I wanted to take a moment to reintroduce myself, especially as we head into the new year. Some of you might have followed me for my journey in plus size travel. Some of you might have seen me fight for fat rights.
All right, so I've seen some of her stuff, and there's some merit to some of it because if you're like really heavy, really overweight, that's not going to change overnight, and you got to go do things in other places, and you got to travel. So some of the stuff that she does, it's like tips for like if you're bigger and you're traveling. And I'm like, okay, that's cool. What's not cool is promoting this. I was on my deathbed, but that made me realize I needed to fight harder to stay unhealthy bullshit. Like this is crazy.
But for those of you who don't know me yet, I'm here to share a bit of my story. After everything I've been through, including facing some of my deepest challenges, I realized that my purpose isn't just about surviving. It's about thriving and helping others like
I'm sorry, but you cannot do that at like 400 pounds. Sorry.
me do the same. So welcome to 2025, where I'm dedicating myself to making sure fat bodies are seen, heard,
Do I even need to say it?
and given the rights we deserve. It all started when I was fresh out of college, a first generation graduate, excited to start my life and make a difference.
See, that right there, that's an interesting thing about your life and tells us a little bit more about you as a person. You don't have to be just fat. This doesn't have to be your entire persona and life.
But quickly, life changed for me. I became sick and my health took a sharp turn. At that moment, I didn't know how much time I had left. The weight of that was crushing. I
Come on. She's throwing me softballs here. You guys know how I like softball. I'm a lesbian.
wasn't sure how much time I had, but one thing I always knew, I wanted to spread my story, my message with the world. I wanted to help fat people like me live our best lives despite the challenges we face. When I realized
One more time. You cannot live your best life when you're so huge you can't fit into a seat and stuff like that. Like, it's just, I don't know. And I've been kind of on the edge of that a lot, right? But so like I've been crammed into an airplane seat and it's like, wow, I really don't fit very well into this seat. But like, especially if you have to like cross two seats just to get somewhere, it's kind of like, you can't tell me that's your best life. Like, you can't tell me that you feel the best you possibly could. You can't tell me that you're not, like physically struggling more than you would if you were thinner. Not even thin. I'm not talking like everybody needs to be skinny. I'm just talking about everybody needs to be able to like move around and shit and like sit in public spaces and not worry about their butt crossing into someone else's seat. Like, it's not like I hate these people because like I said, I'm overweight. That would be really hypocritical. I don't hate this girl. I just think that she's, lost the plot. I think this is delusional.
I might not have much time left, I knew it was now or never. I started posting on social media, sharing my journey, my struggles, my wins, and it took off quickly. It wasn't about fame or attention. It was about making sure my voice was heard, making sure other fat people knew they weren't alone in this fight.
So making sure other fat people know they're not alone in this. So again, this is where I say like some of what she does has a little bit of merit. Unfortunately, I think it's being taken too far. So it's like other people obviously struggle with being fat, body issues, and their health and all that. And it can be good to be able to talk to people or like hear from people you can relate to. Totally, I get that. But the aggressive like push to like let people be like extremely unhealthy to the point they're on their deathbed, like I'm not cool with that.
It took me a while to find my calling, but after going through many niches, I realized that my purpose was clear all along: fat liberation, activism, and advocacy.
Why is that the conclusion you came to? A young age, right out of college, your purpose was this. Do you talk about anything else in your content? Because I haven't seen anything else in her content. Surely you have other like hobbies and likes and dislikes and stuff like that you can talk about. But no, it's always about being fat, and not just about being fat. It's just about like other people need to accommodate your being fat, and that's just not realistic.
This is where I knew I had to be. I've learned so much on this journey, and now I use my experiences as a fat person to help others navigate the same obstacles, to live their best, most empowered lives.
And this is my problem with it. It's like, yes, to some of the stuff about like when you're traveling, you need tips, you're a bigger person. But when people are watching this and this is like encouraging them to like stay unhealthy, stay larger, and like stuff like that, it's like I don't like that. That's creepy. It's gross. Like you yourself admitted you had been on your deathbed because of health problems. So can we maybe rejoin the land of the living with brain cells?
Whether it's travel, healthcare, or just day to day life, I'm here to break down those barriers that exist for fat people. I'm here to challenge the world to make space for us, for fat people, just
We take up more space than anyone. I don't want to hear it.
Just like everybody else. So, as we step into the new year, let me reintroduce myself. I'm a fighter, I'm an advocate, I'm an activist, and I'm here to make sure the world knows that fat people deserve every bit of respect.
It's not that they don't deserve respect, right? Obviously, like there are some really shitty things that go on when you're like a fat person and people online don't like your opinion and they'll just say like shut up, you're fat. You know what I mean? Like that I can understand why somebody would want to like fight back against that and speak out against that. Okay? But this like pushing to like have more space than other people who are of a normal healthy size and like saying people don't see us and stuff like that, and it's just too far. It's too far. It's just like promoting a very unhealthy lifestyle and like trying to normalize it. And sorry, but I don't really want to normalize something that's going to kill people before they're 40.
Access and opportunity. We're not just going to be surviving anymore, we're thriving. And if you're ready to stand with me to fight for fat liberation and to make 2025 the year we take our power back, join me. Together, we can show the world that fat liberation is not just a movement, it's the future. Let's make it happen. I'm here and I'm ready to change the world. Are you?
It's hard to even respond to that, right? Because it's like I feel like this person has decent intentions, but the avenue that she's taking is just goddamn. It's like one thing to be supportive and helpful to other people who are struggling with their weight, and then it's another thing to try to reinforce something that we all know with our common sense is not healthy.
Well, I just care about your health. Maybe if you lost weight, you'd feel better. Nah, let's be clear. Fat phobia is a choice. Stop pretending it's
How is that fat phobic? That was some good sound advice.
for fat people's health. If you really cared about someone's health, you wouldn't shame them or make them feel less than.
How is that shaming anyone? If you're saying like you feel bad or something like that, like, and somebody says, well, you might feel better if you like did something a little healthier and you lost some weight. Like, that's just the truth.
Just because of their body size. Health is personal and it doesn't look the same for everybody. But what I do
No, but it doesn't look like this. I'm sorry, it doesn't. This is not healthy. It's not. My weight is not healthy. It is not.
know is that fat people, just like anybody else, deserve to exist in a world without being judged or treated like we're less worthy of care, respect, or access to basic human rights.
Basic human rights. We have basic human rights. This is not a thing. Like presenting so aggressively like you don't have rights and you're like trying to fight back against the man who's like discriminating against fat people, like when you just like don't want to pay for a second airplane seat and shit like that. Like that that is frustrating, and it makes me believe that you might be pushing your agenda really hard at people in a way that is kind of aggressive and kind of nonsensical, and people push back against that. You don't like it, you call them fat phobic. That's the vibe that I'm getting from this.
Here's the thing: fat phobia is rooted in societal bias. It's not actually about health, it's about controlling how we look and making us feel inferior.
I don't give a shit how you look, but you're not healthy.
It's about pushing an unrealistic standard of beauty and health that only benefits
Unrealistic standard of health for who? I guess for people who are that heavy, I guess, but like it's not really unattainable. You could do it.
a system that profits off of our insecurities. We're told just lose the weight, like it's that easy. And the truth is, being fat isn't a moral failing. It's
Good lord. What does saying lose the weight would be good for your health have to do with moral failings?
a body type, and no one should be shamed for it. Health can't be measured by the size of our bodies alone. I know plenty of fat people who are healthy, strong, and happy, just like I know thin people who are unhealthy. Health is complex, and it's about more than just a number on a scale. You can be fat and healthy, and you can be thin and still face health issues. So
There is no way being this size is healthy. No way. So when people do stuff like this that kind of pushes back against the normal people's like common sense, it's just like absolutely not. I will not entertain this. It's too far.
stop using health as an excuse to harm people's mental health and emotional well being.
Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me?
Fat phobia isn't about health, it's about control, it's about prejudice, and it's about a society that hasn't learned how to accept people who look different. So let's stop pretending. Fat people deserve respect, love, and dignity, no matter the size we are. So, next time you want to use health as an excuse to shame someone, just remember fat phobia is a choice, and it's time to stop choosing it. Well,
So is eating that extra plate of chicken wings, dude. We all got here somehow. I never realized how crazy this all was until recently. And I gotta say, I'm kind of glad I didn't until now because I can't unsee, I can't unhear some of this stuff. And like, I didn't even show some of the more cringy things as far as like the TikToks and stuff go because, well, I don't know. I don't want to like shame anyone for their appearance or anything like that. Like, I don't think that that's really necessary. But yeah, there are people who like to like flap their bellies on TikTok and say, I am glorifying obesity. Yeah, we're doing that now. Like, I guess that's supposed to be empowering for them. I don't know. I don't get it. I think it's kind of weird. Like, I don't really want to see that flapping around. Like, I don't really want to see a thin person's body either, to be honest. But, you know, that's just me. All I can do is the best that I can to be a little better than I am now because I do not want to end up like this. And in a way, seeing some of this stuff only reinforces that for me. So that's something. All right. Thanks for listening. I will see you guys next week for another episode of the Court of Random Opinion.